Hello and welcome to the FasterFreedom Show. My name is Sam.
And I am Lucas.
And Lucas, we are going to be talking today about how to keep your rental income, because right now rental income is being squeezed and cash flow is being squeezed because of certain things. We're going to help people cash flow heavier. What do you think about that?
I love it. I think we've had a few episodes where we, branched out a little bit on topics recently. We were getting back into the bread and butter, cash flow, equity, real estate for this episode. So looking forward to it.
So last couple of years, we've had this chat recently that I feel like, honestly, from like 2015 to 2020, before the craziness, not every, but I felt like if the house was $250,000 ARV or less in St. Louis, there was a 50% chance at cash flow for how we were buying.
Yeah. And the easiest point was probably 2020 through 21. Like those 2 years, I would say along the lines of 80%.
That's when we bought $15 million in real
Yes.
estate. But even before that, it wasn't too bad to cash flow 200, 250, maybe 185. Now, I would say and we're obviously making things up as we go as far as the numbers, don't have the exact data. But I don't know, Lucas, if we got 100 deals sent to us in that time frame that were 250K ARV or less in St. Louis, 50% of them would work. Now, what is it, 10, 20%?
Yeah.
They still do. They're still
5-10%. And, the
Mr. Glass half empty.
The majority of why it's not working right now is because of the financing, right?
Yes.
Right? The majority.
Because
we've had real estate taxes go up, we've had inflation and other costs of goods go up, but the majority of this is financing. So we're going to be talking about other areas of ways you can save and increase revenue to outweigh that extra financing cost and get operationally dialed in so the financing doesn't matter as much. But over this past few years, as interest rates rise, specifically with local banks, because we were exclusively local banks for a long time, there's been newer financing products that came to the market, like the DSCR loan, the debt service coverage ratio loan. There's so many lenders out there doing 30-year fixed products on rental real estate.
And you're going to be one of those.
How many were doing that when we started? Not one. Not one, I don't think.
No.
So I think it's just cool of what everybody needs. Those are the products and services that come to light. So I just love the way it's kind of shifting there.
All right, now let's talk about how to increase. The majority of what we're going to talk about is the biggest thing you can do or one of the bigger things you can do is to get better high-paying tenants. That's the number one thing. If you can get a little more rent with a better tenant, you're going to have less headaches. You're going to be able to do more. You're going to cash flow more. You're going to have less headaches. They're going to take care of their parts of the issues of the lease that they're supposed to. Let you do yours, and everybody's going to be happy. So the biggest expense long-term in owning rental properties is turnover. So getting good, high-quality tenants will help in the long run, but it also can help in the short run.
Absolutely. When I look at the type of tenants we want to have, they're either lifers, right? There could be people just love renting for a lot of, reasons that make sense. They don't want to pay for the HVAC when it goes out. That's expensive, man. That's $5 to $10 grand. Mm-hmm. You have to come out of pocket if you're a homeowner. They don't want to do all the maintenance stuff. They don't want to have insurance. They don't want to have to pay for real estate taxes. So I get renting a lot, and I think it's a great option for a good chunk of our population. But you have the other side of that. So with those tenants that are lifers, we'll call them, what you don't want is them moving out of your house to a similar house because you didn't service that tenant correctly.
Correct.
If they're going to be a lifer and they're good tenants, you want them in your building, your house forever, right? And then there's the other side of that where, hey, maybe we're saving up, building our credit to buy a house, right? Those are good tenants too because they understand what home ownership takes or are starting to, and they're going to take really good care of your house. And when they do move out, they're going to buy a house. That's a beautiful thing to me.
Yes.
And those tenants probably stay somewhere along the lines of 2 to 4 years, but I'm okay with that because they're going to take great care of the house. And when they leave it, it's going to be beautiful, and that turnover cost is going to be way lower. So
we talked about why increase the occupancy. I think we had a little fun side note there. I think that helped. But causes of low occupancy. Why do people leave? Why do our tenants leave, or hopefully not, but other tenants leave crappy landlords?
Yeah, so, when there's something wrong with the house, which happens all the time, for little stuff, you want the tenants to have the wherewithal to not bother you too much with little stuff.
Okay.
Or be able to fix it themselves. I've walked about 10 houses last week with tenants, and they're like, yeah, we have this and this, but I just didn't want to bother you about that. I'm like, thank you so much. Like, if it comes to 4 or 5 little things, yeah, submit them, we'll take care of them. But so have an easy mechanism or platform for tenants to communicate actual maintenance issues with you, and then be able to address those maintenance issues quickly. Have a level of customer service for your people that are living in your house. Number one, it helps the tenants, feel heard and, not have to deal with something broken in their house, but also it increases the lifespan of that house and keeps it up so you don't have deferred maintenance that turns into larger ticket items down the road.
So get back to maintenance requests quickly, communicate,
Yep.
and then just treating them like people, I think, is a big part. I understand it's your asset, and we value our real estate as much more than anybody, but we also treat our tenants fairly and with respect, and I always say most of the time we get that in return. As
agree.
opposed to treating them like a slumlord, you're very rarely going to get that. You still get the tenants that are whatever's going on in their life, that they're mean and they lash out, but you don't get that as much when you treat them with respect up front. So the first kind of like actionable thing, now that we set the table very well, is start with the end in mind, which to me just means make your house somewhere that somebody wants to live, not has to live. This is somebody's home. I get it's an asset for you, and we look at them that way, especially when we buy 300 of them a year. We don't necessarily look at them as like this is somebody's forever home or few year home. But the people that do that, Dusty comes to mind, those other people, you make them really, really nice and high quality, and make it like a desirable, like, ooh, I want to live there because it's so nice, not ooh, I want to live there because I kind of have to.
Yes.
That's a big difference, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think there's so many different layers to this.
An onion.
Like an onion. I think, okay, so the house, let's talk about the house in particular. Specifically, if you're in maybe a little less desirable areas,
okay,
which is okay to own rental properties there, but we've seen
So you're saying war zones or like C+?
Like C+. Like C+.
Like Bissell kind of area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like C+ areas or parts of South City. I think we've seen good success with over rehabbing the house, make them really freaking nice, because people probably do have to live in that area, and a really nice house in that area is probably more desirable than a okay house or a bad house in a little better area. So we've seen some over rehabbing the house, make it awesome, like the best house in the neighborhood, and then those have done really well for us.
For rentals we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, not even for flips. Make them nice. Green it, make them nice. You don't want to make them tenant proof, which means like just surface proof, but also nice to attract.
Yeah, but also I could see it on the flip side a little bit, and I don't know if we've ever really tested this theory, but if you're in an unbelievable area, the best school districts, the best parks, the best yards, whatever it is, like an amazing area, maybe not maximizing the house is the best idea.
Okay.
Maybe you want to be a little bit more on that mid to lower rental range of an incredible decked out house that someone can get into that school district for a lot cheaper maybe than another house on the street or something. I don't know.
So safety first, maintenance. Obviously you're going to want to have things to where you're not having people injured in your property because A, you're a good person, you don't want people to be hurt, and B, you don't want to get sued.
Yeah, so what are the type of things that could be physically harming, so that you want to fix right when things go wrong? Well, you want to rehab it right in the first place, right? But when there's an issue with these certain things that I'm about to go through, make sure you address them with skilled professionals that know what the heck they're doing.
Yes.
Number one's electrical.
Okay.
Electrical could cause fires if not fixed the right way, and you have older wiring or the wrong connections. So electrical fixes need to be done the right way. So something to not take lightly when you have an electrical issue, especially some sort of maintenance request that comes in. Number two, to me, is water. Water might not sound super scary, but there's a lot of issues that can come when water enters in the house. Number one, it could cause more damage to your house than the initial water damage. If you leave water unattended, it's going to...
Water always wins.
Water wins. It's going to find the path of least resistance, come into your house. It can ruin floors. It can ruin baseboards. It can ruin doors. It can ruin drywall. It can ruin framing, insulation, everything. It's something that needs to be addressed very quickly and the right way. But also, if you leave water unattended, it can grow mold. And if mold starts to grow in your rentals that tenants are leaving into, it could be a big liability and a big issue. So that's something you want to get addressed immediately. So I would say electrical that could cause fire or water that could cause mold are two of the things that you want to make sure are very safe in the house.
So, all right, cool. We talked about this a little bit earlier, Lucas, but realize your tenants are people. I think that's a good one. Just treat people with respect in general, give some grace, be understanding, give payment plans, but there's that side of it. But then just having clear expectations on the front end and being firm but fair is the best, I guess, way I could describe it. Firm but fair.
Yeah, I think that, goes to the phone thing a little bit too. Like communication through your property management software or text or email can definitely come off, maybe not the way it would come off if it was a conversation. So don't get, worked up over something that doesn't read right on an email. If you need to clarify something, get on the phone. That solves the majority of the problems, and then you guys can both be respectful to each other. But
I feel like Luke's talking to me. I get worked up sometimes. I read emails or text.
Yeah, sure.
Emotion involved.
Anybody could. It's all good. The majority of the time, I think the grace is necessary, or is just happens the most is some sort of failed payment where someone's behind on their rent or can't pay this month or can only pay this amount. We're okay with that, right? We don't want to make a habit of it, and we want to get people out of the habit of paying late as much as possible. But if you're communicating with us, we will work with you on some sort of payment plan. If you don't communicate with us at all and it's 17 days into the month, you're going to the attorney, period. But as long as you communicate with us, we'll work with you. And I think that's a smart idea, especially when we talked about how expensive turnover can be. So it's going to cost you're going to make a lot more money working with the tenants that are in your house and developing a payment plan versus kicking them out and then having to turn that unit.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button, comment with something you learned, and make sure to subscribe to this channel. We give away more free advice on how to create wealth based on things we actually do every single day than any other channel on YouTube. Make sure to share this with a friend because our mission is to inspire you to think differently about freedom.